All right, so one of the things that I've learned over the past couple decades is the importance of laughing at yourself. Well, so I had a wedding last night that I did, and it was a wedding of a girl who was kind of part of the gathering. You guys remember Shelby Christmas, right? So I'd known her, since she was your age, basically. She actually watched the boys a couple times, my boys a couple times, and last night she told us, like, I can't believe you let me do that. Like, it's not a good idea. Like, maybe not, but so it all worked out, yeah. And so it was an interesting evening. Roman came home, surprised us. He showed up early, right? So we're talking with him, and I'm trying to iron my stuff, and the attire said no dark clothing. So Andrea was no black. And so Andrea clearly wears a lot of black. So she's rushing around getting something, and it's like, it's a lot of chaos. And I have like I print off my sermons that I print off my wedding things, right? You've seen me. I have the book that I go through, and I have that all printed off, and I highlight, and I'm trying to slow down, and all right, it's time to go. So I grab my clothes, and Andrew's got her stuff, and Roman's talking to us, and there's just a lot of chaos. And so we get in the car and we leave, and it's all the way out in Elmwood by the athlete score. Yeah, it was way back there. So it was far away. Yeah, it was like 40 minutes away. It took us a while to get there with all the bridges and all the stuff. So we're driving. We get there. I get out. I didn't have my shirt because I didn't want to get it, wrinkled. So I'm putting it on in the parking lot, and I'm looking, and I don't have the wedding. I don't have the wedding. And I'm like,
there's so much crap.
Yeah. So instantly, what do we do? We start blaming, right? And so like, oh my gosh, like this isn't helping. I can't blame. But I'm like so frustrated at this point. I'm like, and she's like, well, do you want me to drive home? Like, it took us 40 minutes to get here. It starts in like 25 minutes. And so we walk up, and they were like, it's going to be a really casual wedding. It's not a big deal. Well, we walk up, and the people that are hosting at the building, there's like guards outside. Like everybody's got like pieces in, like walkie-talkies. They're like, the pastor's arrived. Like, it's just like this whole thing. And they're like, you're a little bit late. I'm like, it's 35 minutes. And like, well, you need to be up. I mean, they're like rushing me. And I'm like, I don't have anything. So I'm trying to figure out, like, am I going to like try to go off a memory off of this thing? What am I going to do? And like, Andrew's like, thank God Andrew was there, because she's like, I have my laptop. Like, oh God, maybe we can use the laptop. So she pulls the laptop out, and we get online, and I click into my Google account, not realizing that I have two Google accounts. I can't remember the password of the other Google account where it's in. So I'm like, I'm talking about, it's like 50 degrees out, and I'm sweating bullets at this point. And so luckily, we call Justice, and Justice, my laptop's there. He gets online, and he shares the document with the other Google account, because I still have to this day, I have no idea what the password is. And we get it, and her laptop like folds over into one piece like an iPad. And I'm like, oh, thank God. And they're like, okay, are you ready? I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. No problem. Oh my gosh. You want to talk about probably the most stressed out I've been. And the guy had me mic'd, and I hope it wasn't on or recording, because I don't know what I was saying at that point. It was,
Because we learned that Madison like jumped into technological.
Stop using paper. Yeah. Not for you. I said that too, yeah. I was late. Yeah. The last couple of weddings have been rough for me, guys. I'm sorry. So I learned the importance of just laughing at yourself, because what am I going to do otherwise? Whew. All right, so let's get started. We are almost done with Revelations. We have been 7 weeks now, 6 weeks. This is our 6th week in Revelations, but we are on our last church, last gathering, ecclesia of Revelations. And so I got a lot of things that I want to get to at the end as we go through this, but just so many connections, as typically, I had to cut out so much because there were so many things that were making connections all over the scripture. But I wanted to just focus on a couple things, as well as we get ready to end the year. I have a few questions for you at the end. So if you have paper, I put some paper out. You can take some notes. I got 7 questions at the end for you guys to kind of reflect on as we end 2024. How many of you guys are ready to end 2024? Like, is anybody like, I can't wait for this year to be over? Like, just start something new. Sometimes people have such a bad year, like, let's just start a new year. Let's just start over. Let's go. So at the end, we're going to go through a few questions. But Revelations chapter 3, verses 7 through 13. Who's got me? 7 through 13. Not Alex.
Here is what I command you to write to the church of Philadelphia. Here are the words of Jesus, who is holy and true. He holds the key of David. No one can shut what he opens, and no one can open what he shuts. He says, I know what you are doing. Look, I have put an open door in front of you. No one can shut it. I know that you don't have much strength, but you have obeyed my word. You have not said no to me. Some people claim they're Jews, but are not. They are liars. Their worship comes from Satan. I will make them come and fall down at your feet. I will make them say in public that I have loved you. You have kept my command to remain strong in faith no matter what happens. So I will keep you from the time of suffering. That time is going to come to the whole world and will test those who live on the earth. I am coming soon. Hold on to what you have. Then no one will take away your crown. Here's what I will do for anyone who has victory over sin. I will make that person a pillar in the temple of my God. They will never leave it again. I will write the name of my God on them. I will write the name of the city of my God on them. This is the new Jerusalem, which is coming down out of heaven from my God. I will also write my new name on them.
13. He who has ears to hear.
Yeah, whoever has ears should listen to what the Holy Spirit says to the church.
Excellent. So, what's this ecclesia's name? What city is this called? Philadelphia. So when we think of Philadelphia, what do you think of? Brotherly love. You would think so. But I don't, when I think of Philadelphia, this is what I think about. This is my idea of Philadelphia. The movie is there. He's not from there. Yeah, Rocky. When I think of, I've never been to Philadelphia, but I want to think of Philadelphia, I'm like, oh, that's where Rocky's from, right? That's my context for Philly. You're like, what? How many people have never even seen Rocky in here? Anybody? Never seen it? Never seen Rocky? Oh, okay. It's everybody's seen Rocky, right? My boys just saw Rocky for the first time, 2 years ago? It was the end of high school? It wasn't long. It is inspirational. Yes. There's a lot behind it. But the idea of Philadelphia, brotherly love, my context is this idea of Rocky and inspirational and accomplishing things that you can't do and working hard for something. But it is the city of brotherly love. That is the definition of Philadelphia. But as I read through this and studied several of the different words in here, it made me think of this video, especially because there's a couple words that point to this idea of how many of you have ever done any boxing training before? Nobody? Boxing? Anybody do any, you've done some, oh yeah. Or maybe martial arts. Has Jason, or your husband, David, taught you some, your boyfriend, Jason? No, I'm sorry. Take that off the mic. David has taught you some martial arts, right? Is anybody has spent time in martial arts training? Aaron's done a little bit at Post, right? If Roman was here, he would tell you he spent several weeks in some of this. Or maybe how many of you guys participate in debate club? I like that eye right there. What? Debate club? Nobody? Have you ever been in a place or position where you've had to protect people? Watch a dog? Or maybe, okay, how about this, where you've had to watch something diligently to make sure that something didn't go wrong? Neighborhood watch, maybe a bad dog, maybe the cake in the oven, I don't know. Have you ever had to watch something diligently so that it didn't explode or I have to pay attention to this? Have you not had something explode in the oven because it was in there too long? Yeah. On the stove.
You have to watch that diligently
So go back to verse 8. Everybody go back to verse 8. Let's get back on track here. 3 verse 8. My translation is a little bit different. I'm going to read mine. It says, I know your works. See, I have set before you an open door, and no one is able to shut it, that you have little power, yet have guarded my word and not denied my name. Mine says, guarded your word. What does your Bible say? Kept. That's a very popular one. What? Denied my word? Interesting. I have not seen that. You have denied my word. No, before that. Right before that. Right before that, where it says, you have little power, yet kept my word. Kept. Anybody have anything different than kept? Obeyed. Okay, that's a big one too. So that's a little bit, obey is different than kept, right? It's very different. And mine has guard. So the Greek word for this is terio. Terio, next one, there you go. Terio, it means, it can be translated kept, it can translate guard, it can translate obey, but it's this idea, the imagery behind it is kind of like a prison guard who's watching over these people diligently to make sure that they don't escape. And a prison guard has to be trained physically because if somebody is trying to do something, they have to be physically able to restrain them. So they have to be trained in combat. They have to be trained in these ways of how to use the tools that you have to protect something, which is similar to the Hebrew word that we've talked about, samar, many times in this group, right? Samar is the idea of a shepherd protecting his sheep against lions and wolves and bears. They're not just out there with a little stick, in the middle of the night just doing nothing. They're guarding these animals from death. And so the idea, when it says, you have guarded my word, you have kept my word, you have obeyed my word, your job is to protect the word that you have been given. So this city of brotherly love, they were trained in Torio to obey, to protect. So as I looked at this, verse 9 said what? Read that again, Daniel. Your translation was very interesting.
Some people claim that they are Jesus and a God. They are liars. Their worship comes from Satan. I will make them come and fall down. I will make them say in public that I am from love.
Their worship comes from Satan. Mine says they are part of a congregation of Satan. Has anybody had anybody call you something that was just awful? No. I mean, I've literally had people call me Satan. You remember, right? Yeah, like literally, they believed that this person was absolute evil just because they disagreed with me. I don't know if you've ever had that before, but so when you read this passage, you're like, who's this coming from? Who's saying this? So this is the angel coming from Yeshua's angel coming from to another angel to John saying this, tell this to this city. So this is an angelic message coming from God, coming from Yeshua, one of the two, telling them that this is who these people are. So this is something that's coming from God. These people are like Satan. Is that harsh? Anybody?
I don't understand this. It's because it says they're not Jews. Right? So it's specifically saying they're not Jews.
No, they are Jews. They call themselves Jews, but they're not acting like it. So it's kind of like, if you remember, we go back to Smyrna, you can watch Smyrna again. This is where I broke it down a lot, because Smyrna was also called a congregation of Satan. Right? These people who call themselves Jews, or it's like, I call myself a Christian. You know, you're living in the world, you call yourself a Christian, but then people are like, you're a Christian? I remember I was selling cars one time, years and years ago, one of the many jobs that I had. I was a car salesman. I remember sitting on the bench, I was talking to a guy, we were waiting for something, and I said, yeah, I'm going to go to church this weekend. And he looked at me, he's like, you go to church? And he didn't mean that in a good way, or like, you actually believe in God? Like, he did. And he looked at me, and he was like, there's no way you go to church. My mouth, my actions, whatever it was, it did not match the words. And that's what this is. The people who are here, they proclaim that they're a part of God's community. They proclaim that they are God's people, but the way that they live their life is quite the opposite. And here, God is absolutely frustrated with these people. And as I pondered this and thought about this again, there was a verse that from Proverbs came just screaming to my heart. And many of you know, like, I read Proverbs every day. And I've been reading Proverbs every day. Like, whatever the day is for Proverbs, and I've probably told many of you, do this. If today's the 13th, read Proverbs 13. Read Proverbs 14 on the 14th, and do it every day. And so I'm reading this, and I'm thinking, wait a second, there's a place in Proverbs where God says there are things that he absolutely hates. He abhors. I wonder if there's a connection. So I went back. So everybody, if you have your Bibles, turn to Proverbs chapter 6. So there's a place where God says there are 6 things that I hate, but 7 of them are an abomination to me. And I thought, that's interesting. 7 things that God hates. We're talking about 7 churches. We're talking about one of these is the synagogue of Satan. So let's talk about 6:16. 6:16. These 6 matters, Yod He Vav He, hates. Like, hates is a pretty strong word. You don't hear that often in the Bible. But when God says he hates something, like, this is like very personal to him. He loathes these 7 things. So let's go through the first one. These 6 matters, Yod He Vav He hates, and 7 are an abomination to him. The first one, a proud look. What's a proud look? What's that? Ego. Okay, what else? What do you mean by ego? Explain that. What? I'm better than you. A proud look is like, I'm above this. What was the shirt? The Uptown St. Bernard, like bougie, like I'm above these people, you know? Or maybe I have a title. Look, I'm the boss, okay? Can't you read? I'm the manager. Or maybe you have a degree, or you have more knowledge, more understanding than other people, and you use that to put people down. Or you look down upon them because, what do they know? They're just stupid. A proud look is this idea of just allowing your ego to be out of control. Which is why, like, I started this sermon with the idea of, I've learned over the past few years the importance of laughing at yourself. Because years ago, what happened last night would have just thrown me over the edge. I don't even know if it would have even happened. I don't know if we'd still be married because I would have blamed her for everything. And we just drove her car, right? That was it. Because my ego is shattered because of something that I did, and then I lash out. That's a proud look. Let's go on to the next one. A proud look, a lying tongue. Woo. I told you, I hope he wasn't recording, right? Because I was like, oh my gosh. I was mic'd up. It was like a hot mic moment. Woo. A lying tongue. What's a lying tongue? Deceptive. Do we teach kids the importance of character anymore? Do we teach kids that lying, cheating, stealing is actually wrong? Do we teach kids that if somebody calls, well, most kids have their own cell phones now, or you can hit deny. But you see, when I grew up, I would see even my own parents, somebody would call and I would answer the phone and like, oh, if it's so-and-so, tell them I'm not here. What are you teaching me? I mean, it sounds innocent enough, right? But if you start teaching children at a young age, like, hey, just these little lies, like, oh, I'm not doing this. Like, you start telling people and teaching people that it's okay to lie. It's okay because if I don't want to do something, or if I want to get ahead, or if I want something, then maybe it's okay to lie to get what I want. At what point does it blur the line like morality and character actually matters? And if I do that as an adult, how do my kids learn? Do my kids learn by what I tell them or what they see me do? A lying tongue is about your character. And how many adults are teaching children today, every day? If it helps you get ahead, just lie. If it helps you get out of trouble, just lie. Because lying, well, is good. It reminds me of that movie Wall Street years and years ago, the tagline that you see it on the commercial every time it would play, he would say, greed is good. I'm like, when did greed become good? But the whole movie was about Wall Street, about this idea that it was okay to be greedy. And I think the same thing is happening today. Lying is good if it helps you get ahead. And here God says, this is one of the 7 things I abhor. Why don't we tell the truth? Because a lot of times, because we'll get in trouble. Nobody likes to get in trouble. Or it might cause a problem. Or if I tell you the truth about something, you might be mad at me. It might get me fired. It might be embarrassing. But one thing that I've heard from a lot of leaders is they've told me, like, I would much rather have an employee come to me and say, look, boss, I blew this. I screwed it all up. All right, thanks for being honest, then let's fix it. As opposed to somebody who blew it and screwed things up and then lied about it. Now, you didn't just screw something up. Now I can't trust you. How am I going to ask you to do this next project if you're maybe going to lie to me again? What else have you lied to me about? What don't I know that you've been lying to me the whole time? Telling the truth is hard, but it's the most important thing we can teach our children.
How do you think the future change?
By your actions.
And what actions will those do?
When they see you have to tell the truth, you do it.
So, And I'm only asking this just to like, I guess like 10 points more, just because like for me this is like a super personal part of my personal life. As a parent, you know, like, or I guess as a kid, but then also observing as a parent, I always felt that it was safer to lie because the consequences were more than simple punishment. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if it's safer to lie, potentially have the ability to get away with it, over knowing for sure that you won't if you tell the truth.
So as a parent, just like a boss, I was saying, teach your kids. You blew it. You told me the truth. Man, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for being honest. Now let's go fix it. As opposed to when growing up, like you blew it, and the parent blows up and you get mad. So then you want to not tell the truth because it's so much easier to not get in trouble and just so much easier to lie about it. Where you're, as a parent, you should, what's the word? Yeah, it's like a moment of like, not a pat on the back, but an encouraging moment like, thank you so much for telling the truth. That's a teaching moment. You teach them, you appreciate and value honesty. Even though something broke, okay, what happens if they break a plate or a cup? Do you explode on them? Or do you like, oh shoot, something broke. All right, well, let's clean it up. Right? The reason kids lie is because they're afraid of how you're going to react. So,
It can be less about when it is that they're telling the truth or lying about, more about whether they tell the truth or lie.
I believe so, yeah.
Is there an extreme that's okay?
I'm sorry, what?
Is there an extreme that's okay? Is there a line? For instance, story of that right? So they hid and they lied.
Right.
For the good.
Mm-hmm.
So is there, or
Yeah, now yeah, that's so preservation of life, right? So there's going to be commandments in the Bible that contradict at times. A lot of times they go in linear with each other, but sometimes, boom, they come in contact where like you have to make a choice which one to do. And the tradition and the sages have always said, what is the most important thing? The sanctity of life, right? Is lying bad? Absolutely. But if it kills somebody, it puts somebody into murder, it's okay. Because the sanctity of life is always more important than these other commandments. If you murder somebody and then lie about it, no, man, you're toast. Now you're double.
About lying, because it just seems like that, you know, when we were taught, man, lying was like really bad. No, there's a place in hell for liars, right?
Well, God abhors it.
And so, but now it just seems like with kids, they don't hold that value, you know what I'm saying, of how bad a lie really is. And so they just not just lie, they make up stories and all kind of things. And I think where the danger comes in is that it's like the boy who cried wolf, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You can't trust them.
Right.
And that's a scary place to be when the whole relationship is like that, when you don't know whether they're telling you the truth or not, and you need to trust them.
Right. And this is where I talk about this in leadership talks. Leadership is always downstream of the culture. In other words, whatever the culture believes is okay, those people will eventually become leaders. If the culture tells you it's okay to lie, cheat, and steal, when Justice and Justin become leaders, if they've grown up in a place where they've learned that it's okay to lie, cheat, and steal, what will they do when they find themselves in a place of leadership at a job? They'll think what? It's okay to lie, cheat, and steal. Or as lawmakers or politicians or whatever. Absolutely. It's okay to lie, cheat, and steal because that's how I grew up. And so we're talking, this is a cultural issue. How many times have we, in shoot, have we ever talked about Proverbs 6:16 in the gathering? I can tell you honestly, no, I don't believe so. I don't think we've ever talked about these 7 things that God abhors. That's my fault. That's me realizing what have I not? This is a problem because these are 7 things you all should know God hates. Do you know that? Do you know that God abhors egotism and lying? I think we've failed as the church, but I'll take the responsibility myself. We have failed here. Go ahead.
So stress.
To what? To not lie?
No, to lie.
Oh,
Because it leads to so much other things that you know that you lied.
sure. Well, not only, it's stressful because then somebody asks you and then you have to tell another lie to cover up the first lie. And then I've met people really that I know really well that have told so many lies that their lies become true. They actually believed the first lies that they told because they've said it so many times. I mean, that is funny. Like Adolf Hitler said, if you tell a big enough lie long enough, people will believe it's true. And when you think of evil, who do you think of? And yet this is what he has said. And then what do we say right here? What do we see? God abhors lying. We got 5 more. A lying tongue, hands shedding innocent blood. Man, if you have no character, lying, cheating, and stealing is okay, then what's death? What's life? Do any of these things matter? If there is no character, there's no moral character within you, at what point do you stand for the innocent? At what point are you willing to stand up for somebody who can't defend themselves? Or are you just like, who cares? I mean, the animal kingdom world, they survive, the strong survive, the weak, who cares? As you just said, the greatest commandment is the sanctity of life. Life matters. Protecting the innocent matters. A heart devising wicked schemes. Whew, man, the one word that just popped out of my mind when I wrote this down was corruption. Do we see corruption today? I mean, you wrote a song about it, right? I mean, this idea of corruption is filtered throughout our politics, through our businesses. And why? Because the culture at one point said that this is okay. It's okay if I have to do something that's a little bit wrong just so that I can make money or just so that I can get ahead. Because remember, when I said Wall Street, what did they say? Greed is good.
That's exactly television teaches you.
Those whose heart devises a wicked scheme is the opposite of love. Those who devise a wicked scheme is all about me. How can I get ahead as opposed to love, which is what? I don't have it written down here yet. Write this down. This is the definition of love. Self-sacrifice for the benefit of another. Real love, and I said this in the marriage last night, real love is not about your feelings or how you look or how many times you go to the gym or, like you look so good, you're so sexy, I love you. No. Those are all emotions. Love is, I'm willing to put my ego and my desires and the things that I want aside because I'm here to help and serve you. What do you need? Feet quick to run to evil. And that's kind of like a theme. What happens when you find yourself in trouble? Embarrassed. You blew it. You made a mistake. What did Adam do? Not my fault, God. It's her fault. It's a woman's fault. And it's not just a woman's fault. Whose fault was it? It's your fault for giving me this woman. Sheesh. Do I hurt people because my ego is broken? Do I lash out? Do I break things? Do I hurt people's feelings because my ego has been hurt? Do I react with words and actions? Because hurt people do what? Hurt people. Do I lie, cheat, and steal? Do I think of things that are absolutely evil for self-gain?
Would you consider, like, you know, somebody does you something, and you know, you make a converse, you know, watch, I'm gonna get him back. You know, I'm gonna take care of them. Wouldn't you think that would fall under like a heart divided and wicked scheme, and also like feet, you know, quick to run to evil? So in other words, my reaction, I'm gonna make sure I take care of them.
There's a lot of things that could fall under that, under evil. Bernie Madoff, right? You remember his name? Bernie Madoff was the guy who stole thousands of dollars from people. Or what was the guy's name that the Me Too movement that got the first guy, the movie guy? Harvey Weinstein, right? Or Enron, or Volkswagen. I mean, here's one. Volkswagen, what did they do? They lied about their emissions. They sold thousands of cars by telling people, like, I'm just going to change the numbers a little bit. It's okay. Why? So that I can make my bonuses. We live in a culture that is broken right now, and we see it everywhere. Two more. A false witness. One of the reasons these people are called, they're like a synagogue of Satan, is because they were willing to deliberately tell things to the officials about other people that would put them and their lives in jeopardy. What? Are you? How many people today will make up a story or deliberately say something, or maybe I hear something about somebody and I'm going to pass it on to somebody else? I'm okay with just destroying your name because I just don't like you. And I heard something, I'm going to twist it a little bit so that it makes you look even worse. We live in a world on Facebook where you're just like, oh my gosh, look at the things that are being said, or Twitter or Instagram, or all these things where people love to just destroy people verbally, and they will just nuke somebody with their words. Yeah. Or keyboard warriors is what Mandy says, yeah.
So would the difference between that and lying tongue be like false witnesses, more lies against the person if you're attacking character?
It's like slander. Yes.
Plus, the false witness one is part of the Big Ten.
It is. Yeah. As well as there's other portions in the Leviticus where, like, if you're in a jury, your job isn't to look or make a decision based on whether they're rich or poor or good looking or not. Like, you're just supposed to tell the truth. A false witness is like, I know this is true, but I'm going to say it's false anyways because I just don't like you. It's purposely, not just lying for yourself, but purposely hurting somebody else with your lies. Like the what? Or to profit from it, yes. Mm-hmm. And then this is the last one. And one who causes strife among brothers. This is the one where I think, man, this is just so devious because it's so easy. It's the pot stirrer. Do you know any pot stirrers? People who just love to cause a little bit of problem. Throw a little thing out there. Throw a little word out there just to, I'm angry about this, but I'm going to let it go. And then somebody comes, oh, did you remember this? They love to just stir the pot and just to love to get everybody angry. And then they love, and it's just like this boiling water of anger. And they're like, okay, see, I'm out. The pot stirrers, the people who love to not just promote gossip, but they move it to Lashon Hara. They tell a story about Alex, and that it's a true story, probably an embarrassing story, doesn't want anybody to know, but they tell a story about Alex, and did you hear about Alex, that he did this, this, and this? Is it true? Absolutely. I'm not lying. It's not a false witness. I'm telling you the absolute truth. But what is it doing to Alex? It's making him look bad. I'm purposely telling the story so that he looks like a jerk. Do you know anybody like that? Who love to just talk about people, just to cause problems, to hurt people. I see this, in the simplest things. I've seen a lot in the past maybe year where marriages, people that are married, they love to just bash their spouses in public. Sometimes when they're in front of them, sometimes when they're not. And sometimes when they're just, and there's a difference between making fun of, but to just like, he did this and blah, 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 blah. It's not the funny stuff. It's like, I'm just so mad at him, I'm just going to tell all of you why I'm mad. Why? Why would you put your husband down in front of everybody else? Why would you put your wife down in front of everybody else? To make us look bad of her? Then we're like, why are you married to that person then? The evil tongue applies to everyone in every situation. 3:10. Read 3:10, please. Revelation 3:10, sorry.
Why are there were 6 things he hates, but 7 he had? Like, what's the difference between the 6 and the 7?
It's just a way to put emphasis. There are 6 things, but then I'm going to throw this last one on there just so you all know, like, these are the 7 things that I really abhor. It's like saying the same thing twice, but it's like there's really 7, but there's the 6 that we see that are blatant, but then that 7th one is just like, oh, don't forget, all of these I hate. Because it says there's 6 matters that Yod-Heh-Vav hate, and a 7 and 7 are an abomination to him. So it's a Hebrew way of just saying, like, I want you to really pay attention to these 7 things. Does yours have a different translation?
No, I'm saying there's probably a little bit lost.
Yes. Correct. Revelation 3:10. What you got, Daniel? Yes, sir.
You have kept my commandments, remain strong in the face of my Lord God. So I will keep you from the time of that. That time is going to come from the whole world. That's really great culture.
The city of brotherly love demonstrates their love by guarding, obeying the words of Yeshua, which is interesting because this shouldn't be new to us. Because in John chapter 14, he says this over and over and over. There's these 4 or 5 passages. I'm just going to read them for you. 14:15 says this, if you love me, you shall guard my commands. Different translations say, you shall obey my commands. Verse 21, he says the same thing. He who possesses my commands and guards them, it is he who loves me. And he who loves me shall be loved by my Father, and I shall love him and manifest myself to him. 23 and 24, Yeshua answered him, if anyone loves me, he shall guard my word, and my Father shall love him, and we shall come to him and make our stay with him. He who does not love me does not guard my words. Guard, obey. If you love me, you will guard these words. You will protect these words. You will watch over these words like a prison guard, making sure that nobody touches these. If you have to use jiu-jitsu, or you have to use boxing, or you have to, whatever you need to do, protect these words and make them yours. Follow these words. And what? If you do so, me and my Father will come and we will be with you. You may not see us, but because you're so engaged in protecting this, you will hear our voice. You will feel that presence. Have you ever been to a point where you're like, I don't feel like I hear God. I don't feel like I experience God. I don't even know what that means anymore. And then you ask, like, well, how much time do you spend, like, really digging into this stuff? Well, I don't. But he says, like, if you guard my words, then me and my Father will be with you. We shall come to you and make our stay with him. What holds you back from this type of faith? What holds you back from Tereo, protecting, guarding this word? What holds you back from taking this word and living it out in your life? What holds you back? Is it time? Is it desire? Is it one of the 7? The ego? What holds you back from literally, God says, if you love me, you will obey me. There's a really hard passage that I just sent to a pastor yesterday in Luke, and nobody preaches this. And when I sent it to him, he's like, oh, I don't know, man. There's too much there. But Luke 17:5 says this, and the apostles said to the master, they came to Yeshua, they asked him, Lord, give us more belief. Give us more faith. That's a common question. Give us more faith. I want to know more faith. I want to know more. Help me with my faith. And Yeshua, in classic, Jewish teaching, gives them a parable. Okay, you want to know more faith? Verse 7. But who of you, having a servant plowing and shepherding, would say to him, when he has come in from the field, come immediately and sit down and eat? But would he not rather say to him, prepare somewhat for my supper, and gird yourself and serve me while I eat and drink, and afterwards you shall eat and drink? Would he thank that servant because he did what he was commanded? I think not. So also you, when you have done all that you were commanded, say, we are unworthy servants. We have done what was our duty to do. How many of us realize that faith and love are the same thing? What did I say love was? Self-sacrifice for the benefit of another. God says, if you love me, put your ego aside, put all the things that you want to do, and just serve. Just obey. Just do. Just perio. Just do these things. Because too often we want to be like the Pharisees who, hey, I'm going to pray and you're all going to think I'm great. Look how much money I gave, because look how great I am. I'm the greatest servant ever. I did all these things for the community. I need, my name somewhere. Or do we just do these things because we love God? For the next 2 weeks, we got 3 weeks until the end of the year. Aaron's going to teach next week, and then we're taking a week off. But I have a few things. I said there are 7 churches, there were 7 abominations, and I have 7 questions for you to ponder over the next few weeks. Because as we hit 2025, we're going to hit the ground running, and we're going to be making some changes, and we're going to do some things. But I really want you to ask yourself these 7 questions. What did I change my mind on this year? Was there anything? Is there anything as you look back and you thought, like, this is what I believe, and this is what I'm doing, and this is where I'm going, that something happened, or you just, no, I don't think that way anymore. I don't believe that anymore. Number 2, what created energy? What did you do that, brought life to you, that brought energy to you, that you felt good about doing it? And are you planning on doing it again? What sucked energy this year? Was it a person that sucked energy from you? Was it a job? Was it, something that you had to do? What were the boat anchors in your life? What were the things that held you back? It's a negative. This is a negative. What were the things that held you back from doing something that would have brought you more life, or doing something that you really wanted to do, or something that you felt like God was calling you to do, but something was holding you back? Maybe it was a mindset telling you, you're not good enough. You can't do this. You'll never do this. Not the wife? Let's hope not. What did I not do because of fear? One of the greatest things that I've found that holds people back from change is the fear of what will happen if I do change. I'm comfortable in the muck and the mire and the crap that I'm in right now. You know, I don't like it. I hate it. It's terrible. But if I change, what am I changing to? I don't know. It's just comfortable sitting here. What didn't you do because of fear? What did I do really well this year? What can you look back and you're like, man, I knocked that out of the park? How can you pat yourself on the back and say, yeah, that was good? Sometimes it's hard for us to say those things. Sometimes it's hard to say, yeah, I don't want to be egotistical, but sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, I did that good. I can recognize that about myself. I did that. And the last thing, what did I learn this year? Is there anything that you learned? I hope so. What did you learn that maybe blew your mind or changed your perspective or made you think differently? 7 churches, 7 abominations, 7 questions for the end of the year. My hope is that you take these 7, you reflect on them over the next few weeks, and not just write them down and forget them. Think about them, and let's talk about them. Talk about them with somebody in this room. Talk about them with me. Text me. You guys were supposed to text me your homework a couple weeks ago. I got a few of you, but not everybody. Text me one of these answers. I want to hear from all of you. One answer, text me. And reflect on this, because I really think that we are on the verge of doing something different next year. Pray with me. Father, we just thank you for this morning. We thank you for an opportunity to be challenged and reminded of the things that you hate. We don't want to be those people who, when people hear, oh, you go to church? Really? I pray, Father, that we can be a genuine community of authentic faith who are able to put our egos aside and to just live completely for you. We desire that you will come and make your home with us. We desire your presence. We desire to just be with you. I pray, Father, that you send this community out as we leave these doors, that we can bless other people with our words, with our actions, that they can see you and us, and they can bless you because of it. We praise your holy name, Lord. Amen.